I don't know if we're going to agree on this. Like, I don't know. There could be some back and forth here. Everyone grab your popcorn.
Rich, successful, surrounded by a beautiful woman, does what he wants when he wants, says what he wants when he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's so attractive to, do you think, young men?
But I like the light that he's shining on, like, well, how the mainstream media have all this influence.
I feel like he's rebranded.
And it is very common knowledge, that the biggest killer of men under 35, so I've read under 50s, is suicide. That's upsettingly insane. Do you not think 35 is the prime of your life? Like, so you need to stop and think, like, why are men killing themselves? He said, depression's not real. Depression's not real. Like, you're not told how to fight depression. You're not told how to make yourself better. How can people say, here's a bunch of pills, but do not change any aspects of your life?
I feel like it's an element of the broken system, in that if he came out straight away with the self-help stuff, I don't think he would be anywhere near as famous or popular or as influential.
So they've helped create the monster. Yeah, he's not without blame.
Right.
Cool, man. What should we do? Should we fucking
open up?
Catch up.
We're back.
Catch up. Tate.
3 months. 3 months off.
3 months off.
Yeah. So I was away for 10 weeks, and then I've been back 2 weeks getting sorted and that. So.
Yeah, so for anyone who's been begging for Clubhouse podcast episodes,
all the messages, all the fan mail, we appreciate you.
Yeah, we haven't been ignoring you, but we're back in the saddle now, so
yeah, it's good to be back, actually.
It is, yeah.
I missed it. It's, I realised how much I enjoyed it, having some time off, so yeah, it's good to be back.
It was nice, wasn't it? I felt that way as well, not researching and looking into things every week in preparation for a Thursday night. It was quite relieving to not be looking at the news all the time, and I was just doing my own thing, and a lot of guitar and that, and it was a good laugh. So anyway, how you've been? Tell me what you've been up to, man.
Well, good, mate. I've been away. I was away for 10 weeks for work. Got to go to Malaysia, between Malaysia and Hong Kong for 10 weeks. So, yeah, it was amazing. Great experience. Learned a lot. Full on though, long hours, living out of hotels for 10 weeks. So like it was good, but it's full on. So it's good to be back now, get into a bit of a routine, bit of normality. Living here now for 3 months while they finish off the house. So
yeah,
looking forward to 3 months, getting back into a routine, get the podcast going, back in the gym consistent, eating well. Because when I was away, I was consistent with the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week, but just eating shit and then felt shit. Eating hotel food. You can't cook, so you got to, like, every meal you're eating out, and the food over there is unreal, like amazing, so many options. So let my eating go a little bit and definitely felt a bit worse for wear. So yeah, man, looking forward to getting back into it, normal routine again.
It's good, man. What was Malaysia like?
Malaysia's amazing. Like the people, like the nicest people, so kind, so accommodating, would do anything for you. And the food and that was fantastic. It was, we were staying in, I think it's the biggest mall in Malaysia, where it wasn't, the part of Malaysia we're in wasn't great. It's quite industrial, and it's like where the offices and stuff are. And like there's a university campus, but there's not much happening. But this mall, mate, is the biggest mall I've ever been in. Like you could walk around the bottom floor, it'd take you 15 minutes, and there's 4 floors. So to get around this place was crazy, and food was just amazing, mate. Anything you would want, they had. So Malaysia was good, loved it, but Hong Kong was my favourite.
Really?
Yeah, Hong Kong's just got like this buzz about it, mate. We stayed in Wan Chai, which is kind of like, I don't know if it's the party district or it used to be like the main red light district, but it's just got a proper buzz to it. There's loads happening, loads of restaurants, bars, some lovely, lovely restaurants, really cool bars and stuff like that. So yeah, Hong Kong, would love to go back for an actual holiday, because I was working quite long hours, so I didn't get out as much as I'd like. But yeah, Hong Kong was,
there's so much to do and so much to discover.
Yeah,
I've always been jealous of cultures like that, is because they seem to be doing everything every night. Do you know what I mean? Whereas us as like British people, we finish work and we go home.
So this is it. Yeah, there's a big culture shift for them. Like a lot of them like don't have big kitchens, or it's like cooking's not as big over there. So like you're eating out at lunch, you're eating out at dinner. In Malaysia particularly, they would always go for like a 1 hour 90-minute lunch with like their whole team every day, or like at least 3 or 4 members of their team every day. And like they were like almost shocked that we would just work through lunch and order food in. They were like, it's like part of their culture, but it's like you see the social side of it a lot more. Like they work together, but they spend a lot of their time together, their lunches. Then they were going out for dinners together because they don't really cook at home and that. So they were like spending a lot of like good quality social time together. And you noticed that like they seem to have like very good relationship with work colleagues, which is kind of different,
Yeah,
for us, isn't it? It's not really a big thing. So
yeah, the dynamics changes when you just don't treat everyone like an actual colleague. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
They
yeah,
sort
you
of blend
see it
into
more than
friends.
that. Yeah, it did make me think like to make more of an effort at work. In that, I kind of just I'm not interested, well, haven't been previously interested in the social side for quite a long time. I've just been like, it's work, get to work, do my job, get what I do need to be done, and then go home and do my thing. But I was like, I don't go to any like the social events at work. I don't go to any of the like team dinners really or Christmas dinners and that. And I thought maybe I should actually, but we'll
Bit of
see.
an eye opener, yeah.
Yeah, man. How about you? How's things?
But what about the gym, mate? Tell me about your gym, because you've been
Yeah,
working
mate.
hard, haven't you?
Been.
You've
Do you know what, mate? Not even. I would say I've changed like two main things. Yes, in the gym, the same amount of time. Intensity, mate. Training at the right intensity, almost to failure every exercise, and then eating like a champ. Consistently getting those 3,100 calories in and hitting my protein goal. Yeah, and I just put on. Like, I think I'm at like 195 pounds when I left at like 172. So I put on like 20 pounds over the course of the last 12 weeks.
That's good. What's that in kg? My
kg, so
dumbass.
I'll tell you now, mate. Can't remember. About 90, I think.
Yeah, that's good, mate. That is good. And isn't it funny how tweaking such little things that you kind of
Crazy.
seem obvious
Crazy.
can be so beneficial?
Honestly, mate, I think the main factor was the intensity in which I was training it. I'd go to the gym and I'd get a little pump on, but like nowhere near to failure, nowhere near to kind of the point where I'm like, oh, yeah.
Just your 3 sets at 8 reps or
3
something.
sets at 8 reps, relatively hard, but not too hard, yeah. Whereas now I'm pushing myself. I'm working with coach Dylan. Do you know Dylan Colkin?
Yeah.
So I'm working with him, yeah, and there's an app like True Coach app. So you see your weights and reps from the last session, and every week I've been like real conscious effort to add a couple of kg or 5 kg or to do 2 more reps per set. So that in itself has made a huge difference. Training at the right intensity, if you don't track what you're lifting, I don't know, for me, I was probably doing 6 months where I was lifting the same weights and I was like, why aren't I getting bigger? Whereas like over the last 12 weeks, I've just been incrementally either reps or weight, training at the right intensity and then eating, make sure I'm eating enough. The eating part's quite hard because it's a balance of putting on too much weight too quickly. But whilst I was there, I just kind of said, right, as long as I eat more than I need to, I'm not going to worry about kind of getting too heavy too quickly. Because you can put on too much fat rather than muscle. There's only so much muscle you can build in a week. And yeah, mate, it just paid off. And strongest I've ever been, lifting numbers, like visible differences now where people have like pointed it out to me.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it was class.
when
And
you
another
see-
thing is I've not been running. So I think to build muscle and run at the same time is very difficult. And like I tried it for like a year and it was just like, really wasn't seeing progress in either. I wasn't making huge progress in running. I was doing okay. And the gym was just kind of more maintenance. So I stopped running because it was just too hot over there. And there was nowhere really to run outside. And I cannot run on treadmills. I hate it. Especially like long distances. Like anything above 10k on a treadmill is brutal. So I stopped the running. And then, yeah, man, just all kind of came together really. Last 12 weeks.
Perfect, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good when you get to scoff your face, isn't it? Because you don't have to be so cautious of what age you're like
Do you know, it
consuming.
just feel good. Like you've got more energy than you need, so you're never like, oh, tired because you're not eating enough. Your strength goes through the roof because you're full of energy. You start seeing progress. So yeah, it's like I'm like not looking forward to when I've got a cut and start doing like calorie restriction.
It's hard.
Yeah. How's because you were trying to lose a little bit of weight, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. So basically what we just moaned about, the calorie restriction thing, I fucked it up, really.
Did
I
you?
just lost weight, yeah. I wasn't hitting my protein goals and I was trying, because when I'm putting on weight or trying to, like, if you want to call it bulk, then I'll just smash loads of pasta, smash loads of porridge. They're easy meals to make. Working from home, I can do it whenever I want. The calories build up. Throw in a couple of shakes, yeah, you'll sound. So when I started cutting, I was like, I'm going to, try leave carbs out the way I've been hitting them. Get back on the animals, the
Yeah.
chicken, the steak, the salmon. And I just wasn't hitting a good enough calories. And after a few weeks, I was like, damn, I've lost a bit of size here, and I don't look any more toned for it. But I felt like I learned a lot, and feel like the next time I go around to do it, so it's just like
Approach it differently.
Yeah,
I think hitting your proteins like super important for maintaining the muscle when you want to lose weight. So like, if I struggle with getting enough calories. So like for me, because I try and eat a lot of like high calorie, quite fatty meat. So like a lot of steak, and I'll go for the fattier cuts. Or if I eat like quite lean and try and reduce the carbs, it's really hard to get enough calories. So it's a hard balance between eating. It's easy to stuff your face when it's shit food because the calories are there.
Yeah.
But like when you're trying to eat a bit clean, it's quite hard to get your calories right. So, but yeah, I think hitting your proteins like super important if you are cutting, because you helps you maintain the muscle you got without, and still you can lose some of the body fat.
It's another one of those things that can become quite addictive, because when you start eating clean, your desire to eat like chocolate and that leaves you quite quickly.
Yeah.
So you just don't want to do it like at all.
Yeah.
You kind of see it for what it's worth as well. You know, all these sugary drinks, sugary sweets.
Oh yeah.
When you start eating clean, you're like, I can see why they're bad for you.
And you feel so much better. Like honestly, like the last 12 weeks, don't get me wrong, felt good in the gym, felt strong in that, but like eating shit food, and I wasn't eating like, it wasn't really, I'd have a bit of chocolate and crisp, but it's more just like fried fatty foods, unhealthy foods, chips, like Subways, chips just quick and easy.
Fucking put chips with everything over here.
Yeah, mate. So it was like just eating that kind of food, I definitely had the knock-on effect, like on I think it was on more on my sleep and like grogginess in the morning. That's where I noticed it the most. But yeah, it's hard. It's finding the balance, isn't it? Because it's as well, I don't want to get too caught up in it. You know, all I do is track every little gram of what I eat. And mate, like, don't know if that's a way to live, do you know?
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's necessary. It's good if you want like fast results, and it is good to document stuff, but you can get there with...
You can, yeah. I think the only thing that I'm really I track is protein. As long as I hit my protein, I'm not too fussed about how many carbs or how much fat. I think that's kind of when you get into the optimization phase, you know, when you're like, you've made loads of progress, and then you really want to optimize to get those like 95% results. So I think for most people, it's not necessary. As long as you're hitting your protein and your calorie target, you'll probably
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah,
and you got time's on your side. Do you know what I mean? So people want all these quick and fast results, but it really doesn't need to be like that, because all that does is just elevate your stress levels.
Yeah, man.
And
so
what?
You're still in the gym, are you?
I'm still in the gym, yeah. I had a few... No, I didn't really have any time off, but I started to like dwindle down how much I was going, becoming complacent and a little bit lazy, just enjoying myself as well. But now I've picked it back up, and I've started going on the weekends again. I've had to change my hours at work a little bit, so I sort of had to learn to work around that.
What hours are you doing now?
So they've changed shifts. They want to open the bank for longer, to like 8 till 6. So it was 9 to 5 before. So sometimes you start at 8, finish at 4. Sometimes you start at 10, finish at 6. Starting at 10 I love, because the last hour I'm at home anyway.
Yeah.
And starting at 10, I can go gym at like 8:30, man. No one's in there because everyone has to be at work at 9. So
I'd like that.
It's quite good.
That's quite a good working pattern, isn't it? 10 till 6.
Yeah. So I'm just going back to trying to put on a bit of size, I think. And then...
Would you work with a coach?
I don't know if I would work for a coach, because I'm trying to save, man, and I know it's pricey, and I just think I could get the information elsewhere. I would work with a coach, if I really felt like I kept going at it, and I was getting nowhere, which I know that I've not done. Do you know what I mean? If I was failing, if I was really putting my effort into this, and I just was like seeing no results, then I would, but I haven't done that yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I fail on my own and I really don't know what else to do, then I'd happily grab a coach. They're obviously super helpful.
Yeah, man. It's more like, for me, it's like the convenience. Like he does all my programming, rough calorie targets for me to hit, and then we track my weight. But it's like, it's the accountability, mate. And because, you know, you're paying for a coach and that, you're like, I think I'm a bit more invested in the process.
Yeah. You don't want to be paying some guy for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. So like, for me, it's like the accountability, the programming, making sure, like, I don't know about you, but like, I never had like a proper 12-week program planned out. Mine was just like, I had 3 different sessions I would just rotate.
Yeah.
Go to the gym, rotate them. I didn't really see any progress, probably wasn't hitting the right muscle groups at the right times, the right amount of times per week. So it's just kind of, for me anyway, like I kind of had that, kind of what you're saying, that year where I didn't make any progress. I was like, well, what am I going to do here? Do I want to actually get bigger? And then, I was like, well, I work with a coach, and it was worthwhile for me. But
yeah.
Yeah.
If I ever get there, I know too many PTs, so I'll just sniff around them and ask them loads of information.
Get the
Tyler,
info
do you want to
need.
go for dinner? And then I'll just sit there and question him until
Yeah.
I've got some free information.
There's so much out there, man. You can get like, you can buy like 12-week programs for like a 5 or a tenner, and then I think, like we were saying, as long as you're training at the right intensity, hitting your protein, hitting your calories, if you're trying to put on weight, you'll probably see progress.
Yeah, I've done a survey once. It's like, here's your body type. Yeah, tell me how much you've been working out. Tell me what you do. Maybe 30, 45 minutes. I was thinking they're going to give me some information. The last screen, press submit, and it's like, to get your results, pay £99. I was like, bastards, bro.
Yeah.
You just had stringing me along. And what about your social media? Because you've been...
Yeah, I've been pretty active. I'm pushing on Instagram. I'm trying to go on Instagram.
Plug your shit, man.
Yeah, so I've actually just... It's at BJ Smiley 94, and I'm just figuring out what type of content I want to put out there and what's like achievable within the time I've got around work. Yeah. So I started off with just like talking videos into the camera, a bit of success with that, but I felt it was a bit boring and that, so kind of branching out into like fitness content, day in the life content kind of stuff. And it's good, man. I enjoy it, but it's just, I don't know, it's one of them, it's quite hard. Like, I don't think it's as easy as people think, in that, like, if you want to put like 5 to 6 good reels out a week, you've got to make sure you're on it with like getting the filming you need. Then you got to make sure you're on it with editing the actual videos, posting consistently. So there's a lot to it, and I think that's like, I can see why people would give up quite easily, because like you've got to learn how to edit, film, how to kind of use social media to post and that. So it's full on, like it's quite a lot of work, but I enjoy it. I like doing something creative now. So like, instead of sitting down and stuff and just like watching a bit of telly and that, I'm usually kind of thinking or editing the reels and that. So it's good to have something that I can put my spare time into that isn't just kind of monging out. And it's good. I actually just created a course yesterday. Like, it's a short digital course. I'll send you the link. Which is how to film and edit like those short talking head videos, and like remember the Fate podcast star we tried, and I've got on my page. So I've just put a course out, and now I'm going to start learning how to run like ads on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that. So all good stuff. It's all kind of learning phase at the minute. What type of content I want to put out there, how to run ads, how to sell digital products. But it's good, man. You know me, I like learning new stuff and like
having a
trialing and error, seeing what's out there. So I'm in that learning phase at the minute, so it's I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it does look hard to post like every single day.
It's crazy, mate. It's like, you know what's quite hard? It's the ideas, mate. Coming up with ideas, it's the hardest part. I find it's the hardest part, because it's like, you don't want to just be, I don't know, I'm quite like, I want to put out good quality content, yeah, and you can get, I got to a point where I was just putting stuff out for the sake of it with the talking ones. Like, I was just kind of rushing an hour on a Sunday where I wasn't going to talk about. I quickly just say this. It wasn't really much effort into it. There's no like meaning behind it as to why I was kind of wanting to talk about it. It was just because I needed something to post.
Yeah.
And that's where I didn't want to be. I didn't want to get to that point where I'm just posting for the sake of it. So now I'm trying to get more creative, do like, I wouldn't say cinematic, but like day in the life, where it's like different shots throughout my day, me at the gym, stuff like that. A bit more creative, I would say. So
yeah, it's definitely a completely better angle, because people appreciate more if they can start to get to know you on like a personal level. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or if you just like regurgitate other people's quotes, or you're doing the exact same thing every day, you just fall into this bracket of you can't differentiate one video from the third video from the fifth video.
No, mate.
When you're doing something people haven't seen before, even if it's just about you personally, people remember you a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
They do, mate. And I think it's like, it's easier to keep it up if it's something you're actually engaged in creating. Like the talking head videos, when I first started, it was like all about becoming a better speaker, learning how to speak and be more engaging, learning how to kind of be comfortable on camera. And then it just became, right, I'm just churning these out now just so that I'm posting stuff. But now that I'm more engaged in it, I'm actually thinking more on the creative side. How can I make an interesting video about me going to the gym, or how can I kind of edit this? I love that reel I seen on Instagram. How did they edit that? Well, I'm going to go and learn how to edit that and try and create my own style. So yeah, man, it's definitely more interesting. It's just a lot more work, but I think that's like the price you have to pay, isn't it? If you want to do these things, it comes at a cost. You got to put the work in, the time in to learn how to do it. So
Yeah. And what the goal is to gain followers, and then would you make money from? Because I don't know, do you make money from views anymore?
I'm not really, not really from views. I think I'm probably gonna go down the route of like creating digital products. So like the course I did was all about what equipment you would need to record, how to set it all up, how to set your camera settings up, how to set the lighting up using like a lamp you'd have at home, then how to edit it, real basic editing for a complete beginner, yeah. And like that's something I would have loved when I was first starting out, because it kind of taught me everything I would have needed to know just to get my first video up. And like going through this whole process with the podcast, learning how to edit, learning how to post on Instagram, I'm learning a lot of skills that actually people probably will find valuable, you know. And like I'm pricing them at like $4.99, $9.99, so they're not like gonna break the bank. They're kind of real. I wouldn't say low budget. Like I'll show you after this. It's like I've bought courses, loads of courses like it, where you kind of filming yourself, talking through the process, screen share and stuff like that. So I'll probably go down that route, mate, because I think that's probably where I can add value. I think at the minute, like just becoming an influencer where you kind of do brand deals and that might be an option, but it takes a type of person, I think, and you got to be posting loads of stories every day, kind of like you say, getting your audience to get to know you a bit more, and it's quite hard to keep that up, mate. You got like posting 15 stories a day. Everything you do, you got to be thinking about what you're doing. Whereas for me, digital products are probably more kind of something I can actually do, and probably more value to people than me trying to be an influencer.
Yeah, I completely understand that. See, I could never do it. You know, I couldn't record myself 15 stories a day, talking to a camera every single day. Like, personally, I'd just find that boring. But if you're going to go down the other route of like selling stuff to somebody, that's exciting. So like, even people listening to this, you know what I mean? If you're thinking, I want to start a podcast, I want to start putting videos on the internet, then you know who to get hold of.
Well, this is it. It's like, it's how can I leverage like we've talked about this before. Yeah, it's like I love learning things, and I've spent a lot of time learning like different skills. And like kind of what you were saying before, the gym, actually, the problem isn't access to information these days. Everybody has all the information they would ever need to learn anything they would ever want online. But it's ciphering through that. Those first 3 months where you've got to watch those probably like 1,000 hours of YouTube videos to find the 100 that are actually going to teach you what you need. It's like you can, through courses, I've had it where I've bought courses that have kind of really helped me or taught me one thing that was probably 10, 15 hours of online research, and they teach it in 10 minutes in this course. So, it's a bit of a different route. It's very new. Like I only kind of came up with it 3 days ago. I bought a course, and it was like $9.99, but it was like, here's how you film and edit the day in the life videos. And I was like, fucking hell, I just bought that. And it's actually, I learned 2 things that I didn't know. The rest I kind of knew already. And I was like, I could do that. You know what I mean? I know that I've got this, I'm learning how to do those types of videos, learning these types of videos. I can do this. I know how to set the podcast stuff up now. Why not go down that route? So we'll see. Happy days, mate. Big things like. Yeah.
And Clubhouse is popping off soon. So
yeah, mate.
That will always help. What have I been up to, mate? What have I been up to be honest? Those 3 months have gone fast. I've been exercising a little bit more. I've been going to martial arts twice a week. 4 hours. Yeah,
how's it going?
4 hours a week. Class, mate. It's really good. It's really good. The type of martial arts teaches you how to like street fight. You know what I mean? You're not learning how to, but they have like boxing scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting your cardio in. You're wrestling on the floor with dudes. You know, who doesn't love that?
Being a little bit like, people say martial arts is quite humbling. Like, you kind of, if you're rolling with somebody who's experienced and they just absolutely dominate you for 5 minutes, it's quite humbling.
It is quite humbling. You realise you're not as fucking big as you think. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's good. There is a couple of people there like that. We do some sparring at the end sometimes. But I've enjoyed it. You know, the guy who runs the class is so nice. You can tell he knows exactly what he's doing. His techniques is in such great form. I guess like most teachers are. All the men, the lads there, it's sound and it's nice and it's good to get out that gaff in the evening.
It's social as well, isn't it? It's like you're meeting other men.
Is it?
Up with other men, doing something quite like physical, gets the heart rate up.
It gets the heart rate up, and it's a completely different type of workout. You know, like you can go in the gym. I go in the gym. You know, I lift weights, and sometimes I go home, and you know, my muscles might ache, but I haven't like drowned in sweat. You know what I mean? But like you do when you done your CrossFit and that.
Yeah,
but you get that out of that. Like when we do, sometimes you do like 1 minute sparring rounds at the end, but you have to do it with everyone in the class. If there's 8 men in the class, when you're on your 8th round of sparring with a dude, you really start to think, man, boxers can go. Do you know what I mean? When they're fighting for 3 minutes for however many rounds or whatever it is, you're like, because it takes you to a place where you're so gassed, but you have to try carry on when you're gassed. You never really get that in other aspects of life. Do you know what I mean? You don't get that in the gym. You probably get it when you're fucking running or doing marathons or something. Do you know, when you're like, I'm hitting a wall, but
you have to push through.
Yeah, and that does something to you for your character development.
100%. And the difference between like what you're doing is it's in a domain where somebody is trying to physically hurt you whilst you're like on the point of collapsing onto the floor in a heap. So it's like, what's sort of like resilience, isn't it, to like push through when you think you have nothing left. While someone is trying to physically hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. You're tired, and then we do like these mock sessions at the end where you're getting jumped by 4 guys, and it's just you. And you have to learn how to like do all the blocks and defense. Obviously, they're not out there to kill you. They're people who are trying to work with you. But I've been doing that. Picked up the guitar again, and I got like really into it. I learned like 6 tunes off Enema of the Estate, a Blink 182 album.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. It's just to go through. I was just going through it song by song, just working on like a couple of specific guitar techniques, trying to work on my singing voice, playing acoustic. Nice. Yeah, I've seen a lot of progression now where it really doesn't take me long to learn much. But you know, I could do that from now until the fucking rest of time. But I really need to find a band, or I really need to start going out into pubs to push myself a little bit further. It's all well being able to fucking sing and play the guitar, but when you're sitting in your lounge or sitting in your bedroom, it's like, what you're really doing with it, you're not doing anything. Do you know what I mean? So I could carry on learning and carry on doing that, but I'm not going to get anywhere. So I need to take the plunge. But there's an element of nervousness to it.
Daunting, mate.
It's daunting.
I used to have to be steaming to get up on stage.
Exactly. And I've really got to work on my voice. Like, I'll hold my hands up and say my singing voice is shit. Do you know what I mean?
Would you want to sing?
I'd happily sing, yeah. I'd love to sing. I'd love to be the guy who's in the front in the band, who's playing the guitar, who's singing. Even with my acoustic guitar, you know, I can play it well enough physically, but just vocally, there's a lot that I've got to work on. And it's just about it's about persistence and it's about practice. And I was saying this to this kid who I work with at the youth service, who's got a beautiful voice, man. And I was just like, bro, I'm practicing, mate, and nothing's fucking changing. He's like, you got to keep practicing, and he is right, because you get these little moments, man, where you're like, that sounded fine. How do I control that? Do you know what I mean? How do I keep hold of that and like use it whenever I want?
Yeah.
And
I always wondered if singing is something like, are you just born with it? You know what I mean? You can sing or you can't. That's it. There's no like in between. But
and I think another thing, you know, like the naivety of being so young and then not having the same aspirations as you do when you're older. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was a fucking 10-year-old kid and I'd got a couple of vocal lessons, I'd probably be able to sing right now. Being like 28 and just starting off trying to learn how to sing. But then you've sung your whole life. You just have never like sang where you've wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can all do karaoke and be shit, but you know, how many times you sang in the shower and learnt nothing?
Yeah, man.
Besides that, I caught up with my dad, which was nice. I hadn't seen my dad in
about...
That was class, man. I hadn't seen my dad in about 6 years.
Over here, or was it?
Yeah, he came over here. He hadn't been back to the island in a long time. So I think he left like 2008, 2010. That's like 13 years ago.
Wow.
He didn't really want to come back here. But he moved to China, so it wasn't like I could just go see him whenever I wanted. Not especially when you're growing up and you're a bit young. But I'd caught up with him a few times. We caught up in Thailand, but the last time I saw him was about 6 years ago. But it was class, man, because my auntie lives here. No, my dad and my auntie and that, they're not from here. They're from England. Grandparents are Scottish. but my auntie lives here as well. So my dad came over, my nan and granddad came over, my uncle came over. So it's nice to see everyone, to like have that, you know, everyone in the same room after in what like could have been at least a decade or something when everyone had been together. That was it was a humbling experience, man. I appreciated it. It was nice to see my dad. You know, the minute we walked into a room, we just started taking the piss out of each other, mate. I think we were standing next to each other about 25 seconds before we're ripping each other, laughing. You know, he's got the same sense of humor as me.
Yeah.
You know, he takes the piss, he fucking like rips into people the way like, and we do that to each other. But it's bittersweet as well because you realise how much everyone's aged. You know, you realise your dad's not a young man anymore. You know, you're my grandparents were there, and like all of our grandparents now are getting to that age. So it was humbling, man. It was lovely to see him out, but yeah, I appreciated it, and it was good. And like we had a chat to say, you know, going forward I'm an adult now as well, man. So I've got like everyone just needs to try a little bit harder to have a better relationship. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's at fault. The past is past. Whatever's happened is whatever's happened.
So true though, isn't it? It's like you got to put the effort into these things because these are the types of things that just fall by the wayside. Relationships, keeping in touch with family, getting everyone together as much as you can. For whatever reason, everyone gets on with their lives and kind of forgets about these things, don't you? So
yeah,
you have to put effort into it.
You do it with no malicious intent. You don't do it vindictively.
No.
It's like, because life goes so fast as well. It happens with family and it happens with friendships. As you're like, the months just go by and sometimes years go by. And if people don't live close by, it's really easy to...
No, definitely.
So, yeah.
So has he gone back to China?
No, so he left China a couple of years ago and he's moved to Portugal. He's bought some land and he lives out in like the sticks. You know, he's a very off-grid type of person. But when you're with him, he doesn't strike you like that. He just lives a sort of different lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? I think he's just avoiding tax and I don't know, but yeah. So he lives up in some like, I don't know if it's like a mountain-esque sort of place. He's bought some land, you know, grows his own food, has a sort of community of like people that he deals with. No, he's a plumber by trade, so he said one of like the beneficial things is that everyone will always need water. So if he's ever just like strapped for work or something, he can go find somewhere. Like I'm sure he said he stayed with like not Amish people. What are they called? I forget the other ones.
Jehovah's Witness?
Nah, it's not them. It's like Melanites or something. Anyway,
Mormons.
It could be them. Yeah, it could be them. And he just stayed with them for 3 months while he fixed their plumbing. You know, I've been a place to say. It is good. He's got a lot of funny stories.
So you try to get over to Portugal and see him, do you reckon?
Yeah. Gonna catch up with him a lot more. You know, my uncle lives in Sweden, and you know, when me and him were chatting, he said you come over whenever you want, and that's the place to stay and the place to go. It's not even that expensive to go over to Sweden. So yeah, it was good, man. It was good to like reunite with like family members that I hadn't seen in so long and get along so well. You know, we're going out for dinner. We had a couple of nights where we had late nights drinking and that, listening to tunes. But yeah, definitely enjoyed it. But
nice, mate, nice.
Yeah.
Was it planned for him to come? It was a bit of a surprise.
It was. I think my auntie Michelle had turned 50, so it's like a celebratory. He had turned 60, which shocked me. Like I never knew that. I was like, "You're joking."
Do you think 60's old though? Like I don't know. It's not what it used to be. I remember it being like really old, but like now people I know are turning 60. Yeah. Kind of don't know. It doesn't feel old to me.
I bet he's gonna watch this and be like, "Fuck, he's just shouting that out loud for." Like,
I've kept that a secret for the last 30 years.
But yeah, I don't know. I do see it. I see it as the cusp of beginning to get old. Yeah, definitely. 60 to me is like when you start to turn the corner of middle age.
Your life in like 3 cycles, isn't it? It's almost like you're 1 to 30. Born to 30 is like your youth, your real youth. Middle age, 30 to 50. Then it's like 60.
Yeah.
The last stages of,
Exactly. So yeah, but it was a pleasure, man.
Good, man. It's nice to hear, actually.
And then besides that, mate, just plodding along, dude. Fucking plodding along, trying to keep my head down, trying to save to get out of here and like maybe go traveling in about 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah, Sam. Well, you do. Wow, you start saving, your bank account's looking nice to see it, and then like 2 or 3 things happen, and you're like, oh fuck, now I need to save again.
Back to square one. I feel like that's the cycle you go through from like 21 to where we are now. It's like I've constantly been saving but never had any money.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Or like me and Mia go to Portugal on just a different holiday in like 3 weeks, and that cost us like $3,000.
Yeah, adds up,
It's
doesn't
just
it?
like, damn man, where the fuck? Yeah, it's hard. It's like,
But I'm actually reading this book. I've nearly finished it. I was gonna tell you about it. It's called Die with Zero.
die with zero.
Die with
As in
Zero.
spunk all your cash. And
As in, your approach to money when you're young should be very different to your approach to money as you get older. And I won't do it justice. I think you need to read it because it really changed my perspective on how I like view money and how I view the next kind of 3-4 years of my life. Like, there's certain things you can only do when you're like 20. There's certain things you can only do when you're approaching 30. Like, as you get older, your health deteriorates. So like, people work their whole lives to save up for retirement, and then they have all this money at retirement, but they don't want to go on holidays every other week because they're tired. They don't want to go. They can't go skiing in the Alps. They can't go bungee jumping in Australia because they're old now. So all these experiences you're waiting till retirement to have. As you get older, your health declines, and then you want different things from life. You're not really up for going staying in hostels or backpacking around Europe. But then you didn't do it when you were young because you were saving and being sensible for a career. So it's like this whole kind of, just the way he talks about it, and it kind of opened up my eyes in a few different ways. So if I think about the last 5 years, I've been very focused on earning money, building the future, that I've probably not enjoyed things that during my 20s are the only time that I'm probably going to be able to go and enjoy them. Going traveling for a year with Megan. So I'll send you the link to the book. But it's definitely it's a good read.
yeah, I thought of something similar though, and that's what kind of gets me down, about everyone. And we can all moan as much as you want, but 9 to 5s, right? And you're working and you work and you work and you work and you work, and they sell you this fucking dream that you work to retire, and you'll get to an age one day where you're like 60 or 70, and you're like, yeah, you don't have to work anymore. But it's like, all right, sound, yeah, great, I don't have to work, but I'm literally fucked. Physically, I'm fucked, yeah. Like you just said, I don't want to do all the things I wanted to do as a kid. But when I was a kid, you had me I was sat in an office for 9 to 5 every day. I missed every single day. You miss every single day except from Saturday and Sunday. You literally do. And you go home in the evening when you're tired. But I won't go on a rant about that because it's a slippery slope.
But the thing is, there's so many options these days. Like, you're right, we've been sold that since young, and like that was the traditional way.
I think it's a scam.
But with the internet, yeah, there's so many ways to make money that don't revolve around a 9 to 5. You can build a lifestyle business where you're not trying to be Richard Branson. You're just you want to make enough money each year to do your own hours, work your own schedule, freedom of movement, so you can work where you want. There's kids doing it, mate. There's like 18, 21-year-olds who have figured it out, how to make money online and how to have all the things that we would want. Set your own work hours, set your own schedule, and work from wherever you want. So like, it is 100% possible. So it's like, I feel like for us anyway, our generation, or like the people growing up now that have the internet, it's never been a better time to escape that kind of 9 till 5 if that's not what you want.
Yeah, and I think we're waking up because we don't want that, and I don't think life has to be like that. Do you know what I mean? You're just under the perception, the illusion. Like,
but
yes,
like, it depends what you want though. Like, I would say like
freedom.
Yeah, but some people are happy with that. Like for me, if I could, there's a number in my head that I would want to earn, right? But if I could earn that doing what I do for my job, I would do it. Because I enjoy my job. I'd get to travel around the world for work, meet new people, work in new offices. So like, I don't know. I think it's the money factor is a big part of it, in that you work those long hours, those hard 9 till 5, put in a lot of effort. You don't really get the financial upside. Whereas I think like, yeah, it depends on the person. Some people like the security of like having a fixed income, guaranteed income every week, knowing your hours. So it really depends on the person, I think.
No, escape the matrix now. But work's so like,
it depends on the job, doesn't it?
I think, but as a human being, to do anything monotonous day after day after day after day, it slowly kills your soul. Like deep down inside, yeah, you are not happy. I'm speaking from personal experience, and I'm sure a lot of people are like this, yeah. When you have to do just the same thing every other day. That's why, saying what you were just saying about, finding a different way to earn money, whether it be through the internet or all these traditional jobs, you know, where you just do the same thing day after day after day, year after year after year, get paid the same wage year after year after year. Obviously, that's down to you. You need to make your fucking life better. It's up to you to step outside of that ring and be like, well, that's not what I want for myself. I'm gonna put all these in place so I can make the other reality fruition. But it's not. It's easier said than done. You do have to put hard work in. But I think.
But like,
people that don't do that, it's fucking soul destroying, man.
It is, man. But then it's like, I think it's like you said, it's down to like, I think the job, like, depends on the job you have, and also kind of like you say, a bit of like personal responsibility and like how you approach that job. Because if you start at these entry level jobs, like every fucking entry level job is boring, horrific. Like you say, very monotonous. You're doing the same thing, entry level job, same thing. Day out, but as you work up in that, like for me anyway, like the opportunities I've had through my job, like it's interesting, mate. Like putting in new systems in different offices in Hong Kong, traveling to the Island office, which was a new office we had to go and see if we could fix a problem. Like I had to learn about this new system, learn about new things. So, but it started as an entry level job where I was literally doing the most monotonous things day in, day out for like a year, 18 months until I kind of got to the next level in that. So I do hear what you're saying, but I do think it's almost like it's the approach as well. Like if you stay in an entry level job, you're going to be doing entry level stuff, you know?
Yeah. But the dream would be to earn money and have your day. Do you know what I mean? Where you can do what you want. Even if you worked at like night on your laptop, do you know what I mean? 3 or 4 hours a day. But in the afternoon, you were out fucking, I don't know, playing tennis or, you know, doing things or going out for tea and scones or whatever you want to do. Like, to just have your own day is kind of, to me, that'd be the dream.
Can be done, mate.
Yeah. No, I thought about it hard. I thought when I get back from traveling, I'm really going to get my head stuck into the books. And I was looking at stuff this week, you know, trying to put things into place of like flipping like wholesale stuff, you know, where you can get like stuff from a website, sell it on eBay as individuals, but you buy it in bulk and stuff like that.
There's so many options, mate, and I think it's a change to your mindset. It's something only really for the last like year that's clicked for me. It's like, have you heard of that Naval Ravikant?
No.
He's this like angel investor in Silicon Valley, but he's very like philosophical, and he's kind of quite a realist in terms of like money is important. Talks about money, approach to money, but he's like the kind of model that most people adhere to is you sell your time for money. Yeah, so like we sell 7 hours of our day for X amount per month, and we'll work those 7 hours per day, 35 hours a week, whatever it is per month, and we'll get paid X amount. Yeah, but there's no upside. So within those, like, let's say, what's it a month? What do we do? 35. So 140 hours a month. Yeah. If within those 140 hours we work really hard and the company does really well, we'll never earn more than our fixed salary. So he's like, there's two things you've got to look at it. You've got to own a piece of the pie to be able to actually work 4 hours a day and still make enough, like significant amount of money, where you benefit in the upside. If the company does well, you do well. And then also he's like, you've got to stop selling your time for money. So like, if you look at this course I've created, it took me 12 hours yesterday to film it, edit it, and then figure out how to post it online. That's it. It's done now and it's online. If that sells 10 times, if that sells 1,000 times, if it sells 1,000,000 times, it only ever took me 12 hours. So it's like you're leveraging your time. So I could work 12 hours, and if that sold 1,000,000 copies, I could make £5 million, let's say, from 12 hours work. Whereas if I work 12 hours at my job, I'm going to earn a couple £100. So it's like, it's what you do with your time and leveraging your time to create stuff there's no limit to the upside. So
you need a little product,
something, just a different way of approaching it. If you just sell your time for money, you're only going to get your fixed salary. Whereas if you create something there's no end to how many times it can generate money for you. So yeah, it really clicked for me the last year. I was like, holy shit, I never really thought about that. I'm killing myself doing like 50, 60 hours a week. I'll never earn more than my fixed salary. What if you put that time into creating something that there's no limit to the upside?
Exactly. In other words, fuck that. So, shall we move on to topic of the week?
Which is?
I don't know if we're going to agree on this. Like, I don't know. There could be some back and forth here. Everyone grab your popcorn.
So Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate, mate, this is good. Just watching this play out, like the soap opera that it is, has been so entertaining for me. How much have you been like looking into what's been going on?
I was tracking it when he was still in jail, and then since he got released, I've watched a few of the podcasts he's put out, particularly the one with Patrick Bet-David, Value Entertainment. I know that he's recently been actually charged, so now they're going to court, I think, to defend the case. So I know quite a little bit about it, but not a huge, the detail. I don't know the details of the case. I know it's some pretty heinous crimes he's been charged with, but I'm not familiar with like what the evidence is that they have and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just think, like, this geezer's so hard to talk about because he's been so, like, ostracized and, vilified in, like, the mainstream media that you feel like doing anything and saying anything besides, like, shooting him down just makes you feel like you're a bad person. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know if you read the comments, but, like, a lot of people are with him, but a lot of people fucking hate him as well. Do you know what I mean? And like, I feel like if you're not one of those people that are against him, then you get a lot of stick. Do you know? And I think the irony in that though shows you the strength of the mainstream media, because there's not a person that's like not heard of, who's heard of Andrew Tate, has not consumed any of his content, yet assured that they fucking despise this guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Through headlines and what the BBC do.
Shows you how powerful the media is, doesn't it? It's like
it does. Truly does.
It really shapes the kind of social thought, or the social kind of, what's the word, judgment of somebody that based on what they portray,
and how easy it is to make people believe a certain thing. And I think that's why I've like perked up in this whole like Andrew Tate scenario, and I keep following it because normally I don't give a shit about most stuff that's on the news. But I like the light that he's shining on, like, how the mainstream media have all this influence on the world. Because I've always sort of known that. Like, I've always been very in tune with the fact, like, the BBC, how negative they are, Daily Mail, but just basically any mainstream media, how they give the information that they want, the public to consume. How these people work for the government. So whatever the government wants you to know, then just give it to the mainstream media, push it out. I think people just think, oh, the mainstream media would never lie. They're telling the truth.
Have you ever seen the video where it's like 10 different news channels on the same night, and they're saying almost word for word the exact same stories? Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Like, irrespective of what you think of him, it has shone a bad light on the media, and it hasn't worked as well as it normally would this time because of his following online and the fact that because he's so popular and been on these big podcasts, he's able to get his point across, whereas most people that get, let's say the media goes after someone, because they're not as influential as him or as popular, they don't have the voice online to kind of counter what's being portrayed in the media. Whereas he's had that opportunity, people have given him that opportunity. So it's been a bit of a like battle of the titans.
It really has. It really has.
Non-traditional media and podcasts and that versus kind of traditional media.
So I started to look into the like. I wrote some stuff down because I wanted my notes to be like perfect. Yeah. So I was like, I see the constant barrage of like negative news articles about him. This is what happened, and it was just like negative. And I was getting dumbfounded because I was going and I was like, well, I'm going to actively watch this guy's content, and I couldn't find any like relevant content that would live up to how he was currently being portrayed. Like, I've got some stuff down about stuff that I think he said that's fucking stupid, but the way they were portraying him, so now I was like getting more annoyed because the only content I was seeing, had so much like intrinsic values for how a male in this life, to be a good person should behave, with the family values, how to act in a relationship, to die for the people you love, to fight for what you believe in, to work out, to protect your mental health, to go to the gym, to avoid sloth and laziness, like how to beat depression, how to get over like heartbreak, things that like men who cannot think for themselves need to sort of be able to understand or be shown, how to take control of your mind, how to think for yourself. And he was spouting all of this in like such a well articulated manner, like making it sound very profound. And then when you have somebody, who seems to be teaching young men all these things, or at least attempting to, and they're attempting to silence him. It's like, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? That's when you start to get angry as a man. You're like, what? Like, there's so much. I know he said stupid shit, right? And we can go into that, but that is such a small percentage of what I have seen him think.
Yeah.
And it is very common knowledge, yeah, that the biggest killer of men under 35s, I've read under 50s, is suicide. Like, that fact alone, yeah, that's upsettingly insane. Do you not think 35 is the prime of your life? Like, so you need to stop and think, like, why are men killing themselves? It's because they're overwhelmed, right? You can't take it anymore. Your bills are piling up. You're letting people down. You aren't where you want to be in life, you know, because you've got to be somewhere or you're failing. Like, you've gone through a breakup. You've had these sad, perpetuating thoughts going through your mind day after day after day, which turns into hour after minute. Anyway, so men are killing themselves. And then you've got someone like this man, like Andrew Tate, yeah, he's like, I don't have the answer to that. I don't have the solutions, but I do have advice that I believe if you implement this into your life, this will not happen to you. Do you know what I mean? You'll live a good life. You'll be a good husband. You'll be a good dad. Like me personally, I've got no predilection towards Andrew Tate. He hasn't helped me with anything. I've never been in a bad place and had to listen to him and be like, oh, you know, that's I'm in a good place and I don't need anyone to fucking help me out. But there's hundreds of thousands of men that do, mate, because otherwise those statistics that I just read out wouldn't. And I feel like he is somebody that's I've seen it, mate. I've seen the amount of I don't know what type of videos you want to call them, or of people admitting like that I was fucking on the verge of suicide. I was, you know, I was down and I was out. I was overweight. I wasn't healthy. I wasn't good. And, you know, I watched Andrew Tate's motivational videos and I watched him say all of this and it completely changed my life. And now a year later, I've got a kid. I've got a wife. I'm fucking happy. And the fact I was even considering killing myself blows my mind now, with where I am today to how I used to be. Because I've watched his videos, mate, and he holds you accountable. And he's really says it to you in a way that's like, get the fuck up. Get out of bed, stop wanking to fucking Pornhub 24/7, work out, get in the gym, eat healthy, treat people with respect, blah, 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 and your life will just gradually change. And that's, and like, when I look into him, that is honestly 85% of the content I see. So for him to be this martyr of misogyny where, like, we need to take him down, and there's a crux in that as well, right? It's because if you tell a kid, yeah, because they try and think that he's influencing school children, he's making kids change, behave, treat girls like shit. It's like, no, when you start giving headlines telling kids shouldn't be listening to this guy, what's the first thing kids are going to do? When you start calling him misogynistic because you're taking loads of footage out of context, then that's what kids are going to see. Do you know what I mean? So these fucking mainstream media people who are creating all these articles are doing worse than good, if that makes sense. Because when you actually go, and you've seen it with the BBC interview, but we'll talk about that after. But yeah, what's your thoughts on him, man?
I think it's a really difficult one, yeah, because it's almost like to get as famous as, I feel like he's rebranded. I feel like he's kind of rebranded recently to say, you know, this is my message, but like to get famous, he was like controversial on purpose. He's clearly a very smart guy, so he's saying like super controversial stuff. To your point about men and that and mental health, like he's put stuff out there saying like, if you don't have a Ferrari, it's your fault, it's easy, and like stuff like it's a joke, but then to the point that 35-year-old who's not where he wants to be, and then he sees this guy with like 15 supercars, beautiful women saying, if you don't have a Ferrari, it's your fault because it's easy to do. It's like, how to put it, he's mixed this good message in with all this controversial stuff to get famous, to the point where people aren't interested in the good anymore because they want drama, they want negative stories, so all they do is focus on, because he has said so I've got some of his quotes and that, to get famous, he said some controversial stuff that he probably didn't really mean, wasn't really kind of, but he did it to get famous. And then when he was famous, his message kind of changed and it became about all this self-help. He's fucking religious now. So I think he's like a victim of his own actions he did when he was earlier. Like, if you think about how he came up and how he got rich and that, he had a cam girl business where like he's openly admitted to like taking advantage of desperate men and like fleecing them out of money, and it's actually them on the chat, speaking to these men, not the women and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, it's hard to, I agree with a lot of like the self-help, take responsibility for your life, get active, get fit, get strong, then see how you feel, work hard, try and make money so you can support your family, you know. I agree with all that, but it's like, if that's your message, you've kind of lost a lot of that, because people just switch off when they hear you say all this fucking stupid shit you said and the controversial stuff. So, but would he have been as big and influential if he wasn't as famous, and would as many people have listened to his message now? So I'm really like torn. I'm like, yeah, mate, but you said all this stuff to get famous. Now you're saying it's not what you meant. You want to give a different message. So I'm a bit like, I see both sides of it, to be honest.
Yeah, he's not without blame. Like, I completely understand that. Do you know what I mean? Well, obviously, like you said, when he first became popular on the internet, he had these very like brash and direct opinions. A lot of them were fucking stupid, you know, involving how women should behave, involving a woman's sex life compared to a man's. You know what I mean? And I can see how that can be taken as misogynistic. I think the execution and the attitude he uses to say these type of things would rile up any woman. Like, I've listened to him and been like, "Oh, mate, fucking hell, do you know what I mean? Chill out." But then sometimes he does just act like an idiot, and he is just being a fucking troll. And I know it's not helpful in any sort of sense. And I think, you know, we forget that he is British as well. Do you know what I mean? We are always taking the piss. We are satirical and sarcastic for no reason constantly. But I just don't. I think like you said with Rebranded, yeah, it's changed. It's changed since then. It's not. It's completely different now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's the dangerous man that
not
people
at all.
make him out to be in the media. And he also, like, this comes back to personal responsibility. You have to take the good and leave out the bad when you listen to these people. It's the same with, like, we've had the discussion about Jordan Peterson when he did those stupid tweets. Well, what I thought was like unnecessary tweets to kind of about the transgender stuff. It's like
very provocative.
In my view, like unnecessarily provocative. So it's like, but then Jordan Peterson's like one of the most influential people in my life in terms of me getting myself together. So it's like, I wouldn't vilify him for one bad tweet, and I don't think that is his character, because I've consumed so much other content of his that's actually super beneficial, all about taking responsibility for yourself, your actions. And I think it's kind of the same with Andrew Tate. I think people need to accept that I'm not going to listen to him. I don't agree with that view on women, but actually, yeah, I am out of shape. I'm watching too much porn. I'm not in the gym. Maybe I should do those things. So it's like, take the good, leave the bad.
Yeah, take the good and leave the bad, because the good looks to be so rewarding and so impressive. Do you know what I mean? He does have a fucking huge following, and I think that following is deserved and it's needed in this society. So especially with everything else going on in the news, man, with like men and all these pronouns and that, it's just like, I don't know.
Why do you think he has such? What is it about him? Do you think, like, is it the lifestyle? Is it that most men are attracted to that lifestyle of rich, successful, surrounded by a beautiful woman, does what he wants when he wants, says what he wants when he wants? Is that what's so attractive to, do you think, young men?
Yeah, I would say that's half of it. There's definitely probably a massive portion to some men. It's probably the whole reason why they idolize him and look up to him. But I think, like you said, men aren't stupid. You know what I mean? A lot want more out of life. A lot aren't happy. We live in a society like I was just saying a minute ago about work, how monotonous that can get you down, man. You know what I mean? If you're struggling to pay bills, yet you're working very hard in a society where everything seems to be very expensive, and it feels like you can't fucking catch a break, and you're attracted to women but you don't know how to get any. Do you know what I mean? Like that can get you down. And that could get anyone fucking down, do you know what I mean? And you just can't see the woods from the trees. And it's like, and then this dude tells you like, bro, like, I used to be like that, or I've been down, I've been depressed, I've been negative. This is how I jumped up from the floor. And it's like, whoa, like, it's that easy? Or thanks for giving me that advice. Like, where else do you normally read that? Where in modern society do you see that so profoundly and prominently pushed? You don't see that. Look, take for example, right? This is a good one I'm going to bring up. So something people always pick up about what Andrew Tate says is, he said, you know, depression's not real, you know, like, and people see that as him trying to say, cheer up, depression doesn't agree. Sorry, depression isn't like real, yeah, it's just you're making it up. I kind of looked into that because I thought, no, depression is real. Like, do you know what I mean? It does. People do get depressed. Some people have chemical imbalances. It's hard. But when I looked into that, yeah, he was saying he doesn't believe with the general narrative of, I'm depressed, doctor. I'm depressed, doctor. You go to the doctors, yeah. What happens, look? You go to the doctors, you say, I'm fucking depressed, you know. I'm crying every day. I got all these thoughts ruminating around in my head. I feel like killing myself. I need help. Doctor goes, no problem. Here's a bunch of pills. Go home, take them, and you'll feel worse, but you'll feel better. And then you're like, what? He's like, yeah, loads of side effects. You're a guy, you might not be able to get aroused. You might be impotent. Insomnia, you've never suffered with insomnia in your whole life, but here's a bunch of pills there. They're going to make you better, but you can't sleep. And it's like, what the fuck do you mean I can't sleep? We know as a society how important sleep is. No, you don't ever get to a doctor to say all those things you just say about being depressed. They say, okay, I just ask you how much you exercise. They don't sit there take a survey of you. How much are you drinking alcohol right now? Because we know how much of a depression alcohol is. You're just past these pills. You're told to go home. You're not looked after in the sense where they're like, this is how you improve. These are all the things you can do. You're not taught to combat it. We're smart enough as a society with the amount of scientists we've got, the amount of doctors we've got, the amount of money we've got, where we could push a completely different agenda, a completely different narrative on how to fight depression. And we don't have that in this society. We're just given medication. Doesn't work for half the people. Half the people it does work for get addicted to it, have to be on it for the rest of their lives. The other half of the people it does work for, they need it. So if they fucking don't have it, then they end up going cuckoo. So it completely changes the functionalities of your body, how your brain works. And it's like, okay, I can see once upon a time why that worked. There's obviously a lot of money behind it as well. Do you know what I mean? Pharmaceutical companies and that. We now know 1,000 different ways to combat depression that is not pushed. You don't see that anywhere else except from people like him or influencers or PTs or people who are telling you to work out, or like me and you have done podcasts on alcohol. We know how that affects depression. You never rock up to a doctor's surgery and they're like, let me take this survey with you, do implement all these things. It's just, here's a bunch of pills. And I think that's exactly what we meant about depression not being real. Is you're not told how to fight depression. You're not told how to make yourself better. How can people say here's a bunch of pills but do not change any aspects of your life?
No, I think again he said it in a way that was controversial, but the underlying message was probably actually a good one, in that a lot of people that maybe feel on it's situational, it's down to your situation, your lifestyle choices, where how many people have you heard that made a few changes, start exercising, start eating well, lose weight, stop drinking alcohol, and all of a sudden they're a different person. So, and that's not the only options available to you. It could be because of your job, overworked at job, overstressed because of your job. It could be alcohol doesn't just hit right with you. There's so many different reasons, but you're right. But again, like, it's a victim of his own actions, because it's probably a good message, a good underlying message. Like, before you go down the route of accepting you've got depression, try these 10 things and see what happens. I don't know the exact words he used, but I can imagine that it was controversial.
It's very controversial. He said loads of times depression doesn't exist, and if you hear someone say depression doesn't exist, you're going to think, what a fucking wanker, or what a twat. You're not really going to want to listen to this guy. But it's one of those, like, you really need to go look into this guy's content for yourself. But then it makes you think, well, why don't these mainstream media articles or websites or journalists fucking remember what a journalist is? Because apparently they don't exist anymore. You don't look into nothing, right? Take it and say, I'm going to go look. I'll watch the hour clip. Actually, here's the rebuttal to the Daily Mail's website where they're calling him a prick for saying depression doesn't exist. I've just watched the clip, BBC. Here we go. It's actually an hour long, and here's the underlying message to it. Like, me and you are able to talk about, because I have like watched it in a fuller length. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we can say, well, he says controversial things, but he also says the complete opposite. So where do we choose to grab? Because that's where our attention span is at the moment. We love sound bites. We love 10-second clips. We love 15-second clips. You can't get his whole message in a 15-second clip, but you can get him saying something stupid in a 10-15-second clip. So, and it's just easier. And that's why, because we need news. We don't need news every day. They think we need news every day. So they're just rolling out this barrage of fucking abundance of like articles that don't mean anything, because they need to give you something.
I've got some of his quotes here, and what I've done is I've mixed some that it's a sample of some stuff that I would agree with, and some of the stuff he said. And it was kind of to give that picture of like taking the good with the bad.
Why people see him as a bad person as well.
And again, it's quite possible some of these are taken out of context in the respect. They may have been part of a wider conversation, but I'll go through some of these. So, if you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must bear some responsibility. That's one quote.
Yeah.
Why would you be with a woman who's not a virgin? She has used goods second hand. So people defend depression. They get angry when I say this, but they need this bullshit to justify their own failures. By admitting I'm right, they need to work hard to make themselves happy. To avoid the work, argue with me and pretend depression is a thing. By extension, I have responsibility over her. Therefore, I must have a degree of authority. Talking about a woman. I do not administer CPR. I will not administer CPR unless you're a hot female. If you're a fat dude and just had a heart attack, and I don't really know you, you're gonna die. No, not even if you're a friend. If you're my friend, you can't be a pussy. Well, I had a heart attack. Get the fuck up. What's wrong with you? Go to hospital later. The hallmark of a real man is controlling himself, controlling his emotions, and acting appropriately regardless of how he feels. The man who goes to the gym every single day, regardless of how he feels, will always be the man who goes to the gym when he feels like going. Emotional control isn't a lack of emotion. It's a necessary function of maturity. The amount of stress you can tolerate while remaining effective is directly correlated to your success. Reject weakness in any form. So, like, there's some good stuff in there that I would actually resonate with and be like, yeah, you're right, actually. The hallmark of a real man is controlling himself, controlling his emotions, and acting appropriately regardless of how he feels. The man who goes to the gym every day, regardless, will always be the man who only goes when he wants to. Emotional control is a sign of maturity. So these types of things I'd agree with, but then it's like, if you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must bear some responsibility. And, like, he'll go on to kind of justify this and that. Not justify it, but, like...
Yeah, his backup
This is why I'd say that, and then it's like...
if you're walking through a park at 4 a.m, then you know what I mean?
Then it's like... Yeah, it's like... I can see how, like, let's say you'd listen to 10 sound bites of him. I can see how you'd easily forget the stuff that might actually have a positive impact with some of these things that he said, so...
No, I completely agree. Do you know what I mean? The first few that you read out are just absolutely disgusting, and you can't stick up for him, and there's no need to try and justify, well, he meant this or he meant that.
This is it,
because it is fucking stupid. If you really mean it in the way you say that you mean it, then you can explain that in different terms. But if you're just going to say, like, what you just said about the rape thing and that, which is just totally unacceptable and disgusting.
Yeah, you're right. And this is what annoys me, because I feel like when I think about someone like him, he's got everything. He's extremely successful, extremely intelligent. You can tell he's intelligent. 6 foot something, good looking. He's kind of got the full package, and kind of he went down the route of being super controversial, super kind of saying these things that probably didn't need to be said, to get famous. So then now he can promote this self-help message, but it's like, I feel like it's an element of the broken system in that if he came out straight away with the self-help stuff, I don't think he would be anywhere near as famous or popular or as influential.
So they've helped create the monster they want to destroy.
And this is what I mean. I feel like it's just such a broken system where this guy knew, for me to get famous, I'm going to have to say some crazy shit online, get soundbited. There's no way he didn't know what he was doing when he was on these podcasts saying these things, knowing full well it was going to get clipped and used in that way. But then the argument is, but now I'm the most famous man in the world, and this is my message. But it's like, if he'd have come out with that message straight away, which is what you would have wanted him to do, so that you couldn't tarnish it with all the bad stuff he said. So yeah, it just feels like it's a...
Would you have been listened to?
I don't think he would have.
I think
there's so many people out there that are putting all this self-help messaging out there. They're not as... They probably have a better message, a more well thought out, better message with some practical plan to how to get yourself from, if you're struggling, to a place where you're good, but they don't have an as attractive lifestyle as him. They're not as tall as him, as good looking as him. They don't have beautiful women around them. He's not driving supercars around all over the world. So no one's interested in that guy. So it's a vicious circle.
It's a double-edged sword, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's like social media has amplified like the worst aspects of what we actually want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the algorithm was probably impartial in that it was designed to give people more of what they want. It wasn't designed to say I'm going to push this type of content. It was I'm going to push whatever type of content that people want. Same with news. We're going to push whatever news gets people to read our papers, and then slowly over time, we've realised that as people, our natural instinct is to go to probably the worst kind of news, the kind of controversial stuff versus the positive message.
Do you think there's a little bit of appreciation though in the enlightenment of acknowledging the fact that you've said out of pocket and perplexing comments, backtracking to the degree where you're like, now I've got a bigger following, I know I shouldn't have said those things, because the way he's portrayed, right, the king of misogyny, he wants the end of this, he wants the end of that, yeah. If that was truly if that was his values, you know how confident this dude is, he would back that up and say, I'm doubling down, this is exactly how I feel, and this is it. But I feel the controversial side of him, which does exist, I'm not sticking up for him, I think, I believe half the shit that's came out of his mouth is so silly. With that being years ago, and now a couple of years passing by, say 2 years passing by or whatever, where that's not the case, he's not doing that anymore. Do you not think that that's a bit like, well, maybe he's not the guy he's portrayed to be? Because if he was, he'd be doubling down and saying, this is how I feel, I fucking said it then, I'll say it again now. But instead he's saying, I've completely changed my tune on what comes out of my mouth, I'm a lot more cautious of what I talk about, I shouldn't have said those things then. Now this is what I want out of the world and what I want to do with my influence. He's very aware that he's one of the most influential men on the planet at the moment.
Yeah.
So he does say, this is kind of what I want to do with my time. He's pushing religion, he's pushing values, he's pushing, you know, all that stuff. Like, go watch his Piers Morgan, his new James English, not his old James English, because that's when he's fucking idiot. And what else? And the Patrick David, the 4.5 hour podcast, his first one when he got out the nick.
No, mate, I do. And I think there's a line. Yeah. So I actually like him, and like his recent content, actually, I quite like him. Like you say, he speaks very well. He has some views on certain things that like most men deal with that actually, you know, I think, yeah, you're right, actually, that I should look at it that way, or yeah, maybe that is the reason this is like that, whatever it is. So I actually like some of his recent content and stuff he's putting out, but then it's like, to get to where you are, you started a cam girl business, yeah, you've trashed men, like brokies, made people feel like if you're not where I am, you're fucking useless, yeah? Then you've said the most controversial shit on the internet to get famous, to get all the attention. You then got all the attention and the money that comes with that. So, like, don't forget, all of the early stuff he put out when he was gaining all his followers was all really to direct stuff to his course. I think it's like Hustlers University or whatever, yeah. So, got incredibly rich from saying controversial shit. So, like, isn't there a line? Like, should you not be held accountable for your past when it was a very clear, like, it was all thought out, mate. There was no way that, like, he became the most famous man on the planet by accident. There's no way he didn't have his course set up before he did that to get super rich, you know. So, like, where's the line? How long when should you be held accountable for your actions? Because we've talked about this, like people getting cancelled for some. They say, like, Joe Rogan, when he was said the N word, that's where you.
Oh, back in 1863.
Yeah. So this is like where that's a clear line where he wasn't saying it intentionally, like to be racist. He was comfortable using it in normal conversation, but he wasn't directly saying, you know, like a aggressive or offensive way to somebody. That's a line that doesn't need to be held accountable for that. It was clearly a joke. So, but then if he had if it was intentional, yeah, if he had been calling people that and been caught on camera calling people that, he should have been held accountable for that, you know? So, like, I feel like there's a difference. I think intentions matter. What's your intentions? If he was just a charismatic guy going on podcasts, saying some funny shit that he didn't really think that was going to be, and then all of a sudden he got the most famous man on the planet, like, yeah, I think, yeah, you can say, yeah, but now he is the most famous. He's changed his message. He acknowledges he's got a lot of influence, yeah. But, like, I think it's quite...
It's blurred.
It's blurred. It's blurred. And I think the way he came up as well with the cam girls and, like, openly, like, talking about, what's the word? Not abusing. When you take someone for... Taking all the money of desperate men.
Like
and,
exploitation.
like, exploiting the desperate men who are on webcam and that. And then to say, actually, no, my message is to help desperate men. When you exploited them for hundreds and thousands of dollars over the years, you got rich from it. It's really difficult. Like, I'd love to speak to him about it. Like... to actually sit down and say, like, off camera, so it's not just like, what was your intention? Like, was it always the plan to get famous, then give this message, or because you got all the heat, did you just decide, actually, I need to change courses here because I'm getting so much heat from the stuff I've been saying that I need to change my message, I need to rebrand? Like, was your intention always to go out and help men? Was it actually, or did it just happen?
I do agree, mate. It's 100%. Yeah, and you'll never know.
You'll never know. Yeah, this is the thing, mate. Yeah, because like it is a blurred line. Because like you say, some of his stuff at the minute is really good. Like there's a lot of actual value to young men, and if you take the good stuff from him, it's very likely to improve the lives of a lot of men, and has from all the like anecdotal stuff you've said. People doing videos, sending messages about how it's changed their lives, but it's how you came up. You know, I think it matters.
Yeah, it's those brash opinions that have sort of tainted your whole image. I get that. But I don't know, he probably has been held accountable to some degree. Because, like, sitting there on a podcast, you know, and saying this stupid stuff, which is basically his downfall, right? That's what he's controversial for. But apparently he pays, like, £25 million a year to fucking orphanages, and he's built shelters for domestic abuse women and that, and he has all these houses that house all these like refugee women and refugee kids, and he's helped a lot of Ukrainian refugees, and he does so much for charity. And you've seen the videos, and I know they don't talk about that in the mainstream media, and I'm not just trying to like, yo, fucking he's the best guy ever, stick up for him, do you know what I mean? But there is obviously two sides to this man, but I don't know why we're so destined on just focusing on the bad side of him.
But you know what? I think it's like it's just what we want, and like
But it's acting like I know, but they're acting like it's what they don't want. Do you know what I mean? Like the mainstream media, and it's like, we don't want this guy. We don't want someone like that. It's like, but that's all you're focusing on, and that's what you're birthing. Do you know what I mean? You're the one pushing all that. He said it off the cuff fucking ages ago. If you never mentioned it again, no one else would have ever mentioned it again. Do you know what I mean? But when you go on about it every day, then that's what people think of. But you don't want people to think like that. So it's hard to...
You created it. You turned him into the most famous man on the planet by covering it every single day. And
the most problematic famous man. You could have made him the fucking nicest man in the world, and he would have probably shot himself in the head by saying stupid shit.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, mate. But then it's... I don't know where I sit, to be honest.
But maybe I think he's paid the price, dude.
Do you?
Yeah, I do think. Well, he's.
But like, if it was you,
for human trafficking.
Yeah, so it'd be good to get into that actually, because this is where it gets to the like almost the conspiracy side of things, where it's he kind of spoke about it, and it's like, first they'll try and cancel me, then they'll put me in jail, then they'll try and kill me. Couldn't cancel him, put him in jail, or they're in the process of trying to put him in jail. So, but yeah, like, just before we get onto that side of it, if it was you, yeah, and you came around here and you're like, fucking hell, that they won't give me a break and that, I'd be like to you, mate, you look at what you said, look at what you did and said, look how much money you've made from this. It's your fault, mate. You asked for this by coming up the way you did. Like, if that was me talking to you, I feel like that's kind of how I would sit if it was my mate that was in that position.
Yeah, bro, mate.
Like, I was like, what did you expect? You went on the podcast, you said the most outrageous stuff. You're incredibly rich from becoming the most famous man on the planet. You decided to do it that way. You know, you reap what you sow.
Yeah, and I agree, mate. And I think, you know, he has been cancelled, if you want to call it that. You know, but half the fucking world hate him, which is the mission. When someone like that comes along and the media don't want that person to be influential, then they slander his name. And they've done that. They've done that successfully because half the people in the world fucking hate him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a fine line, and we'll get into it. It's like, okay, but spending 3 months in inhumane conditions in a Romanian jail cell without charges, which is basically illegal. That's like, it doesn't matter who you are in the world. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, if they're not allowed to do that to you, the fact that the UK and the USA never went over there and said, give this guy's one of our citizens, give him back now, charge him or give him back right now. You cannot keep him in a cell for that long. That's like, whenever, no matter if you dislike somebody's opinions, yeah, because this is what he's hated for, his opinions, do you know what I mean? That is it, it's just his opinions.
Yeah.
That's what he's fucking hated for. It doesn't matter what your opinions are. If that was anybody else, they would have got him out of there, or it wouldn't have went down this way. The fact that it's went down this way makes you think, what on earth is going on? This is bigger than it seems, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I can't remember which podcast, I'm about the Patrick Bet-David one, but he's like, forget whether you like me or not. He's like, think about this logically. At the age of 35, I was the most Googled man on the planet. I'd worth over 250 million. Lived the dream lifestyle. At the age of 35, with all of that, I suddenly decided to start human trafficking and keeping women against their will. I didn't need the money. I've never been convicted of a crime in my life. I've never been prosecuted in any country of any crime anywhere. It's not my personality type, and I'm not financially motivated. In what world is that logical? Like, who? And then he goes to say, if you believe that, then you should wear a mask and get your 7th booster shot because there's no saving you.
Yeah.
You fucking had to ruin it again.
I always laugh at him. That's what I was speaking to me about. I was like, he's doing so well, and then he throws in this funny, trolly, fuck you comment, and that's why I find him so hilarious.
But like, he had the point.
It's true.
It's true. Like, logically, like, if you were to try, if forget whether you like him or not, if you're impartial, if someone put that case file on your desk and was like, we've got a case here, and you went, okay, who's the suspect? This guy, he's this famous, he's worth this much.
Loads of supercars.
Yeah, lives this lifestyle. Okay. What crimes has he been charged with before? None. Okay. Did you say he's worth 250 million? Okay, right. And what's the charges? Human trafficking, keeping girls against their will. This guy.
This is fucking, yeah, exactly.
So, like,
this guy, like,
it really doesn't seem.
He's absolutely shredded, and it's the most confidence I've ever seen in any human being ever.
Yeah, any woman he wants.
World champion kickboxer.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you put it in black and like that, there's almost a hilarity to it. And do you know, you see it in their interviews when they joke about it. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Patrick Bet-David one, even with Tristan Tate.
Yeah.
He's like, look around. This is like a fucking place where you would keep thinking. And he said, you know, the police that raided his gaff that day, he's getting done for human trafficking. They walked in, they opened up all his drawers. They walked past every single woman. They didn't speak to the woman. They didn't ask him if they were okay. These are women who are meant to be trafficked. And then they raided the gaff. They took loads of stuff and they left the woman there in the house with them. So if you're raiding a gaff that you believe is trafficking women that 2 human traffickers are working out of, the first thing you would do as any law enforcement is grab those girls, take them out and put them somewhere else, right? And they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And they left them there.
And when you put that aside, the case where in Romania what they did was actually legal. You can hold them for, I think it's 90 days whilst you gather evidence, but every 30 days you have to go and get an extension from the courts to say, look, we're still working on getting the evidence, but here, this is what we've got so far. We think we've got a case. I don't think it ever goes to the full 90 days. It's like, it's within the law, but it like never happens. So they went the full 90 days, I think, and then finally charged them. But if you had that smoking gun, you charge them within a week.
Within a week.
A week, 2 weeks, whatever, a month.
They had 2 days to go before they charged him.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, they have to charge you. So what the charge is, yeah, a lot of people mistakenly believed, because they're fucking articles again, Andrew Tate charged, all the comments saying, I knew this was going to happen, he's obviously a scumbag. Charge just means the investigation is done, the file is now handed over to a judge can review it, and then decides if it's going to go to trial or if it's going to get thrown out, right? charge doesn't mean you have been found guilty, which it kind of sounds like it does. If you're charged with something, you kind of just think, oh shit, you know what I mean, that person. So, but how are they gonna, you cannot lock somebody up for 3 months in a dungeon in the middle of Romania and then not charge them, really, because then you have to back up. Well, so what were you thinking in the first place?
Yeah, someone had their theory where Romanian government were pressurized into making an arrest, and then like you say, it went so long that it was like their hands are tied now. If we don't charge them, even if it's a weak case or a non-existing case, we can't hold someone for 70, 90 days and not actually charge them. So there's theories whether it's just a like tick box to say, yeah, we charged you, you won the case. You know, we're not going to put you in jail, but we thought we could, rather than actually we had no evidence.
It's like it's kind of like they've chose the worst person to try to do this to. A man whose house is constantly covered in CCTV. He said, "I've got evidence of these girls this is meant to happen to
coming and
going out to parties while I'm not even in the country. I'm in a different country doing work, and these people who are meant to be trafficked are leaving the mansion or whatever it is you want to call it, going to parties, partying, doing what they want, and then coming back.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just walking in and out of the house at free will. Like, apparently the evidence is so, and that's why I think it just gets a little bit nuts to. And I'm like, I'm not being biased here. Do you know what I mean? I went in with the most open mentality ever and said, I'm gonna look at this geezer through fucking everything that's on the internet about him, and that's what I'm not an idiot. Do you know what I mean?
So who do you think pulls the strings? So like, is it a coordinated attack by a group of people? Right, first we're gonna get the media to go after him. Okay, that didn't work. Right, we're gonna pull some strings and we're gonna, because it can't be uncoordinated. Do you know what I mean? Like every media agency going after him, then all of a sudden, why would Romania randomly bring a case against him if they had no pressure or incentive to do it? You know, if there is no, they don't really benefit from this. They're going to look probably silly. The Romanian government will probably look silly if he isn't prosecuted. They held him for 90 days, lost the case. They're not going to look good. So like, is it a coordinated kind of conspiracy? Is it, and like, who's threatened by him? Like, who is it that thinks his message is dangerous? Who is it that thinks like
I reckon it's governments and leaders.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think, because once you control the mind of the youth, then you control the future. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, and I'm not like a fucking conspiracy theory, with what's going on in the world at the moment, I think they're trying to indoctrinate kids, like teaching kids in school about fucking anal sex and genders and stuff like that. That's weird. That is beyond fathomable. If you would have said that a few years ago, that they're teaching little kids in school that there's hundreds of genders and you can get your willy chopped off underage at the age of 11 if you want, and have irreversible surgery to an 11-year-old kid, never hurt the children, man, never go after children. And if you control children's minds and they're coming to you, look at, he says it about Socrates, where Socrates ended up dying, he had to poison himself, killed himself. They put him in prison because he was teaching the youth not to go to war. He was saying, you're fighting wars for your government, for people who do not give a shit about you. You're going to war and you're dying for people that do not give a fuck about you. So people waking up saying, I'm not going to go to war anymore. If you can't send fucking men to war, then you don't control them. So, but who do I think's pulling the strings?
Or is there anyone pulling the strings, or is it just a...
I don't know. Do you know? I think it's how do you say this? It's so intertwined within itself. Like, if you go back to the beginning of it, when he's saying stupid shit, when he went on their radar, then I don't think they ever thought, we got to get rid of this guy. Let's start a fucking mission to take this guy down. Do you know what I mean? They just ended up thinking, who is this fucking wanker?
Yeah.
We need to shut him up, right? And then they just ended up powering each other to the point where it's like, he's going after the mainstream media, he calls it the Matrix, the government and all of that. And now he's like, crap, maybe we do have to like double down now and go after this geezer. And it's just spiraled out of control in a way that was unforeseeable by either of them. That's what I'm trying to get at. I don't think it was premeditated or preempted as much as anyone thinks. I think it's a war, it's a chess game, it's tit for tat, isn't it? He's blaming them, and I don't even think at the time they were probably to blame. He's gone off them, and now it's like, well, fuck, you're blaming us, now we will go after you. So it's just, they're just fucking each other, really. And I think that's where it's like grew its strength. Do you know what I mean? And there is some truth in the stuff that he says, because you know, whoever controls the media controls everyone's mind, really. We look at the news every single day. I mean, people like, I hate speaking like this because it kind of, I sound like I feel like I'm talking into like conspiracy theory level shit, and I never like really going down that road, but it's true. Like, look how much our lives have changed in 10 years because of social media and phones. 10 years ago, I could not imagine anyone picking up their phone and looking for any console, anything. I know like PlayStation app, but just to do that, monotonously do that, to your mind to just be like this, just looking at your screen, looking at your screen, looking at your screen for hours and hours on end. That's control, right? Your life has been taken over by someone, and it's so normalized now in society that even me moaning about it sounds like, oh, you know, weird, but it's not. It's strange. It's strange to be doing that every day. It's strange to just constantly be sitting on your phone and reading news and reaching social media. Like,
it comes,
we used to have bigger desires for life than that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it is a strange point, isn't it? Because it's like people figured out how to monetize our attention, so like it then became a fight for who can keep our attention the longest, and that's just kind of like, have you noticed now on like YouTube Shorts and that people put like the clip on the top and like a video game underneath,
a video game, and
like,
then a man in the corner.
The only reason that is there is to get you to just watch that video. Like, it's not going to add any value to the video. It's not going to make it better. It's purely just to keep you watching that video, because you're like, monkey brain just sees something moving and it just watches it rather than actually. And it's like, it's scary, this kind of fight for our attention, to who can keep our attention the longest, has led to kind of bad motives, where it's not like, it used to be about providing value. You'd go to watch a film, which is, again, it's a way of capturing your attention for an hour and a half, and it was monetizing your attention, but it was different. It was like you had to make the best possible film so people wanted to watch it because it was good entertainment, It's not entertainment anymore. It's literally using all the tricks in the book just to keep your attention on that screen, editing tricks, these stupid video games in the bottom of the videos. Like, that's not trying to make the best possible video to keep your attention. It's trying to use all the little tricks to get your monkey brain to turn you into a little zombie. Yeah, we're going to reduce the content down to 10 seconds, and so that people feel like, you know what I mean?
10 seconds isn't a waste of time. So the 10's not bad. 20's not bad. 30's
2 hours
3
later.
hours later, you're still on your fucking phone. It's mental, mate, and it's so normalized in society that people just think this is like, it's the new normal. Do you know what I mean? It's just the new normal to consistently do that day after day after day after day. I mean, if people finish work, they just run home, they get on their phones, they got no time for themselves. It's I just never ever thought like life would go this way, and then it's just even getting crazier and crazier. Everything you see on the internet is now fucking strange. It's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what's going on with like the genders and the what is a woman debate that we see on Piers Morgan every single night, and how now we've got men competing in women's sports, and you know, we've got all these women who have spent their whole life working towards swimming, working towards cycling, and all a man has to do is go start dressing up like a girl. He can be put in the women's fucking Olympics and win every single thing, taking everything away from women. It's like it's just insane, mate. It's like, we're becoming so divisive that society cannot ever work together as like a normal function, and this is how we're meant to be. Do you know what I mean? Think in the 1960s with the hippies, where it's like free love and everyone's together, and it all seemed like that seemed like a cool place to be alive. Now it's just news, arguments, negativity, scandals, propaganda, and it's just rife through society, where it's just being repeated day in, day out. And it's like, man, we need to fucking regress a little bit. We need to go backwards. I mean, I was watching Netflix the other day and something came into my head, and it's just like, pick your TV up now and smash it in half so you don't have to watch it anymore, because this is so boring. That was a waste of 2.5 hours. I thought, this might be a good movie. You know, the last 15 movies I watched that just came out are all shit, or got like agendas in them and just make no sense at all. And they're really not, like, no one's put any effort into this movie, and that was so boring. And I just thought, I don't know, man. Just like electronics have just taken control of everyone's lives, and there's an irony in it. Do you know what I mean? I'm speaking into a microphone. Like, anyone who's ever going to listen to this, if they do, will listen to it through stuff that I'm complaining about. But life could be so much more down to earthiness. And it's all you see in the news now. Sky News Australia, they're always having debates about like what is a woman and the genders thing. Piers Morgan, which is huge. ITV, like anything, it's on every single news channel. You cannot escape it. You cannot get away from it. Teachers teaching kids stuff that you would never learn about underage back in the day. Like, it's just completely up on ourselves. We've got no religion. We've got no intrinsic values anymore. We've got like, there's nothing special about life. It's all just turned into manipulation and arguments. And I just don't get why it's like that. It's like, you know, fucking, we could do good things with the internet. We could push good videos. We don't have to push negative videos all the time. You could write good articles. This is what I wrote even about my notes when I was doing things like, I don't know if you've seen any of the Glastonbury coverage. It was just negativity. And I don't get it. It's like Arctic Monkeys sang a little bit slower than they used to. Everyone's up in arms about, you know, that was shit. I watched it. It was like the crowd were loving it. Anyone who was there looked like they had a fucking good time. So, let's have a look at this negative news article. Some random fucking dude on Twitter moaned about it. Actually, 3 random dudes on Twitter moaned about it. So we'll do a news article, pump that out there, and it's just like, bro, back in the day, that would have been me if I went to Glastonbury. I didn't enjoy Arctic Monkeys. I went home. I said, all right, mum. She's like, how's the Glastonbury? I said, Arctic Monkeys was shit. She's like, oh, no worries. Do you want a fucking sandwich? Yeah, cheers. And that would have been the end of it. But now people go to Twitter, and then people take little, it's just someone's thought off of Twitter, and they're like, oh, this is now a news article. And I see it. They done it with Guns N' Roses the next day, and I called it. I said, if they wait till they see Axl Rose tomorrow, he's 61 now. I said they'll be up in arms when they realise he can't sing Sweet Child of Mine like he used to be able to back in, 1987 when Appetite for Destruction was released. What's it, 87 to 23? What's that? That's nearly 40 years, right? Yeah. So it's like, of course he's not going to sound the same, but you're not paying the money. I'm just saying this is how negative everyone is at the moment. I know it sounds like I'm fucking negative. But you're not paying the money to go see them how they were in their prime. You're lucky to even see them. The fact they're still running around up and down the stage at 60 years of age is class. They're still Guns N' Roses. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be everyone thinks you need to live in this perfect world now. And that was it. And it was just annoying me. And it's like, we're very selective of what we care about and what we moan about. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that's nice for fucking Axl Rose or the Arctic Monkeys to read loads of headlines saying they were shit when they done absolutely nothing wrong? Yeah. No, it's not nice. But then Lewis Capaldi can fucking go like that, and then every single news article is like, feel sorry for him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, why? It's like, why? Like, do you know what I mean? He's in a sad situation, but it's no different from everything else. Like, how's getting older any different from, you know, fucking randomly spasming? So, it's crazy, mate. Do you know what I mean? And it's because you're either in the club or you're out of the club. It's the same thing with Philip Schofield. He's accused of grooming a fucking minor, a young little boy, which back in the day would have you hung in the middle of town. And 2 days after his accusations, he's smoking a fucking vape live on interview saying, I was going to kill myself the other night if my daughter was there. Puffs a vape. By the way, he's trying to combat paedophilia accusations and he's puffing on a vape, which is literally...
How weird was that? I thought it was somebody had photoshopped it. When I seen that, I was like, there's no way this geezer went on after the accusations of grooming a child and he's puffing a Lost Mary whilst... defending accusations of being a pedo, and then turned out it was real.
Oh, yeah.
I actually laughed. I was like, whoever's done that is actually genius. That's so funny. And then I fucking found out it was real. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, mate. Do you know what I mean? But that's it. You're either in the club or you're out of the club. And Scopes is obviously in the club because 2 days later they don't want to talk about it anymore because he's one of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but this guy's being accused... Yet you want to fucking bang on about, you know, Tate or Jordan Peterson, where it's like they've been hounding him for 14 months, spent 3 months in a dark cell alone. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, what about that guy's mental health? It's like, but you don't like that guy, so we don't give a shit about his mental health. What about the guy that groomed kids? Well, we know him very well because we used to stick him on our TV screens every morning for 30 years. So we give a fuck about his mental health. It's like, well do you know what I mean? Why is it
double
so
standards,
subjective? It's double
it?
Standards. It's throughout. It's double standards. And I'm like, fuck the BBC anyway. Do you know what I mean? BBC literally protected Jimmy Savile for decades, the world's most notorious paedophile, who is as scumbag as you get, right?
Yeah.
And this was the poster boy for the fucking BBC, who was pally with the royal family, and they knew behind the scenes exactly what he was doing, but they protected him because he earned them a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so Andrew Tate has this opinion of, you know, strong opinions about women. You know, we'll fucking make that guy's life hell. But what about that dude who was out there molesting little girls? Well, we'll protect him. Why? Because he's one of us. It is double standards. It makes no sense, and that's exactly what the mainstream media are like. That's what the BBC are like. Do you know what I mean? If you don't think they're working together, then you actually have to be dumb. You really have to be an actual idiot. It's asinine if you believe that all these fucking agendas aren't like colluding. But they took Andrew Tate's social media platforms down at the same time.
All of them, yeah.
All of them. How? If they're unrelated companies, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they're owned by different people, right? How did they all get taken down in the exact same minute? Wow.
It was also his WhatsApp, his bank accounts, everything at the same time, I think. Which was a bit strange, but
I've missed ranting, by the way.
good to get it off the chest sometimes.
Maybe I need a fucking a therapist or something, so I can just go there once a week and let loose, bro. I haven't let loose in months.
But yeah, it's I don't know, man. I think it all comes down. We've talked about it before, but it's like it all comes down to the incentives, yeah. And it's like if news outlets could make more money pushing positive stuff, they would.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, at the end of the day, I think, unfortunately, in a capitalist society, it does come down to making money. And I don't always think that's a bad thing, but there are instances where it is a bad thing because for a news outlet, if you want to compete and make the most money, unfortunately, controversy sells. If you're a social media platform, unfortunately, you keep people on your platform longer by pushing them controversial drama, these types of things. So there are instances where it doesn't quite work, and it seems like the incentives are a bit misaligned with these types of things. So yeah, mate.
It's out of control, right? I know I sound like I moan. I know I sound like I go on and on, but I do get pissed off, man, because I want the best for everyone. I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to live like good lives, and I've seen a change in society over years where it's like, even though we have friends and we have family, it's like we're all alone now. Do you know what I mean? We go home after work and you sit there with your girlfriend, and it's nice. I'm not complaining about that sort of lifestyle, but we all do it, and it's like, right, you've caught up with mates, yeah, I've caught up with mates. Every time I go out, which is like rare these days, yeah, and I sit there, and I've done it last in the traf, and I bumped into people, and all we talked about, right, is back in the day when we were 15 and 16. Same when I caught up with my dad. Obviously, I hadn't seen him in years, actually, so it's a bit of a different scenario. But we talked about it's like every conversation you have, you must see it, guys. Like, every conversation you have is talking about how good the past was. We're still fucking young, like, we should... Do you reckon you're making like class memories now do you remember back when you're 25s? I don't think I'll ever look back to being like 28 and be like, have all these outstanding memories like I do. Like we all seem to be so nostalgic for the past, not realizing we can do something with the present. And I think that's why I get so annoyed at things like this, because it's like the whole world's attention span and mentality seems to be directed towards these sort of things, when it's like, bro, let's just shut our fucking laptop screens, meet back up, start going back out, put our phones down, you know, bond how we used to. And it's just, times have changed, and I just don't get why. Like, it's like we're like 90, do you know what I mean? All dwindling down and chilling out.
It just comes back to what you were saying before, mate. You have to put effort in. Like, it's so hard. I know it, like...
You need to stop giving time to fucking people who don't care about us. Give our attention to time like who don't care about us. Like the people who make your phones and the people who make all these social media websites do not give a fuck about you in the slightest. They just want to use you because it helps make them money. And we're just, I don't think we're understanding that. Do you know what I mean? And we just, as a society, I'm talking about, it's obviously there's loads of individuals, like, I don't really go on social media, or, you know, I don't spend that much time on my phone, and people who think like that. But it's like, as a society, we need to group together and fuck these people off, man. Do you know what I mean? And take it back. Am I ranting?
No, man. But it's like, again, it comes down to, it's like, what do we do? What are you doing about it? Do you know what I mean? Like, when's the last time we organised something and that? It's like, we could do all those things. It's just, it takes effort, and it's like, we're all guilty of being fucking lazy, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And it's like, oh, we're all adults now. Everything costs a lot of money. You know, when we do go out drinking, I'm fucked for the next days. I ruin all my exercise goals. And it's like, yeah, and you just think of those things, you don't do it. Like, I've gone out a few times, man, and I've actually thoroughly enjoyed myself. Catching up with friends that, like, the nostalgic friends that I had back in the day, seeing them in the pubs and sitting down with them. It's been so much fun. I miss it. I realised I'm going to do that a lot more. But, yeah, I don't know. You have to take the good with the bad. It's hard.
Yeah, mate.
We'll end on a couple of funny notes if you want to wrap this up. I've got one little funny ass story about me. I was going to bring it up before, but listen, there's this woman at Glasgow, yeah, and again, it goes back to like the fucking Twitter thing and the media thing. So she had like a set in the middle of the day, right? And I don't know why her band couldn't come with her. I don't know if it was like regulations. It's very expensive to tour now and stuff like that. So she had backing tracks and she had a microphone. And she's about middle age, right? So she was running up and down the stage. Her hair was a bit whack. She was singing. The crowd looked like they were loving it. Her set ended. It got put onto BBC or whatever. And then a couple of people on Twitter were like, this is shit. Who is this woman? Like, she looks like someone's mom doing karaoke. Which you're always going to get negative people like that, yeah? Aren't you?
Yeah.
It's just someone with a stupid comment. She was so butthurt about it, yeah, that she asked BBC to remove her live Glastonbury performance. She wrote a big story saying, I'm quitting music, I'm never going to work again. You would not put up with this in your job. I'm not going to put up with it in mine. You'll no longer see me at festivals. This is it.
Who was the artist?
Billy No Mates. That was her name. Her name was Billy No Mates, and she was up on stage with literally no mates, and I just found that hilarious. Like, she didn't have a band with her, she was literally Billy No Mates, and that was what her art school. Go read about it. I just thought, you just got to have a backbone a little bit.
You have to have a backbone there. You can't, like, that just comes with the territory of being a person. Like, there's going to be some person that's critical of whatever it is you're doing. You can't expect
there's always going to be people critical of
always, no matter what you do. I've just fed 10,000 people in Africa. Yeah, you just did it for the press, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, or like, yeah,
Mr. Beast helping blind people.
Exactly.
Or you're exploiting blind people. It's like, but I also gave 1,000 people their vision.
And it's like there was probably 10,000 people that loved that set and like 100
exactly,
that didn't, you know?
Exactly. But you should use those people as fuel. It's nice to have a couple of haters. I hope someone watch this think Josh is a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's it comes with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so funny, man. It is. Alright, last mate. I had to get one of my this is quite funny, I had to get one of my tattoos covered. So obviously I like music, yeah, and I listen to a lot of artists that never used to be that big or quite big now. I've got a lot of music tattoos, I'm probably about 30, right? And they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be someone who's world star famous. So I for years I listened to this rapper called NF. Yeah, it stands for his initials. I think his name's something like Nathan Feurenstein. He's a very like mopey rapper, sings about life, depression, grief, stuff like that. But he can spit, mate. And I love rap, right? And he's a great little rapper. He's got like a lot of concept albums where there's like Heads of Mansion, and he goes into different rooms. It's quite cool. You should go check him out if you don't know who he is. So I had his logo, which just happens to be an N and an F, right? And maybe when you're editing this, get his logo and like put it on the YouTube video on the screen, right? So I had it for about 2 years, and then I was getting tattooed, a different tattoo. I was sitting there getting tattooed. My arm was up in the air. Some guy walked in and he said, "Is that the initials NF?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes like, "Is that a National Front tattoo?" And I was like, "No, what's the National Front?" Because I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what that was to call me naive or something. Turns out, their logo looks exactly like this logo, NF. You can get their logo up right now and put it on the screen. And for the people who don't know who the National Front are a political party in the UK that are very racist, filled with skinheads, and they're like anti-immigration, which is the opposite of my morals and my values. I think people who are racist are thick as shit. The most uneducated little wankers in the world, the complete opposite from how I live my life. So I was like distraught. I was like, does that actually look like a National Front tattoo? This guy was like, yeah, a little bit. I went home, told my mum. I was like, Mum, I was getting tattooed. This guy, I said, do you know what the National Front is? Because it seems to be like the generation before us.
Yeah.
A lot of like 40, 50-year-olds, they know what it is. I never heard of it in my life, right? I remember, and I was saying to my mum, like, oh, well, like, what do you think that looks like that? She said, he was just winding you up, like, don't worry about it. And then some dude was staring at me in the gym, yeah, the guy, not my ethnicity, staring at me in the gym, and I didn't think anything of it at the time because this was before that, and I thought, fuck, what if he thinks that too, yeah? So, and then my dad came over and he said, do you know that looks like a National Front tattoo? The minute I was like, right, that's 2 people too many. So I went straight on, I rang one of my tattoos straight away. I said, bro, you need to get me an ASAP. It was hidden on the inside of my arm anyway, so it's not like, thank fuck it randomly got placed there.
Yeah,
if it didn't get placed there, then it would have been.
I wonder how many people have seen it.
I reckon more than I think.
Because
I was leaning on the wall once at this place. I'm not gonna say where, and someone like looked away, double took, saw them look back, and I just thought, no way, I've got this. So I got it covered up Tuesday actually.
That's fucking class.
I know. Everyone I tell pisses themselves.
There's people probably think I'd go home and see. You'll never believe it. I've seen this fucking 28
pale white kid with loads of tattoos, like already fitting the.
And he's had a
bill.
National Front tattoo, man.
And that breaks my heart, man. That breaks my heart.
That's so funny. How long were you walking around with it before?
I probably had that tattoo because, the thing, I can't even remember who done that tattoo. When I got it covered, me and the guy were like, was that me? And I was like, I really can't remember if it was you or if it was this girl who done that. So I can't even remember who done it. So definitely about a year or two. And yeah, like when the second person asked me, I thought, there's no way I'm walking around. So I got it covered, and because of where it was, we couldn't just cover it with anything. I had 2 choices because I was like, put it in his hand. I was like, just cover it up, mate. Yeah. If you need to turn it into a black square, just turn it into a black square. I really don't care. He's like, I'd rather do something with it. So he's like, do you want a love heart, a black love heart, or a black like cloud with like rain coming out? I was like, just put the cloud over it, mate. Like, just as long as I don't have to go home with it on my arm tonight, I sound.
So I'm gonna check out the logo.
Yeah. And do you know what?
Screen.
Yeah, and they look alike. They bloody look alike as well. So
that's
I
class.
can see why other people.
Have you checked all your other tattoos to make sure?
That's it. Eh? That's what I always think. What if one of these like I hope
means something it shouldn't?
It doesn't.
That's class.
Johnny Cash doesn't be revealed to be a pedo or something. Do you know what I mean?
That's where I thought you were going with it. I thought you were gonna say I had this artist and he's just been accused or banged up for this. I was thinking, oh no.
Yeah. Well, and at least it was coverable.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, anyway, so we'll just end on that little funny note.
Well, nice one, mate. Great to see you.
Yeah, it's good, mate.
To be
We'll
back.
be back in the swing of things.
We'll see you next week.
Up. We'll get the thing edited. It'll be on Spotify and Apple Music.
YouTube.
Hope people still listen to us. But whatever, man.
Yeah, man.